From Lake Champlain to the Atlantic, there've got to be 1,000 little rundown establishments known only as the corner store. Here in Judavine, we call it Jerry's, or the garage. Conrad works at the garage, 'cause he might as well. If he didn't have a job there, he'd be there anyway. Well, as Jerry says, hell, if he's going to be here all the time, he might as well be doing something. Conrad smirks and says, and get paid. Conrad, 53, works at the garage. Rents a room from Flossie just next door. Has his own separate entrance, so everything will be on the up and up. Oh, changes tires, takes some bottles, but never works the register. Doesn't want to, won't. Jerry says he's afraid to is what it is. Every evening as the valley darkens, about the time the lights come on above the gas pumps, Conrad begins. Beer. Blackberry brandy. By closing time at 8, he hovers in the low and darkened room like a dazed cat. Jerry locks up, puts out all the lights, except for the one in the window that says beer. And Conrad pads his way home between the broken cars and snow machines, headed for his separate entrance. Supper? Huh? The beer is filling. Well, think of all those calories. Sugar in the brandy gives him his carbohydrates. His protein comes from television. He dines each night on black and white. He builds his bone and muscle from a two-dimensional dream. Now he is rugged, handsome, swift, and mean. There is a gorgeous woman hanging on his sleeve.
Hello and welcome back to Theater Beat. I'm Chris Barlow, and joining us tonight is our new host, Nessa Beattie. Nessa, can you please explain yourself?
I can. Chris, I can. I'm excited to be a part of the team here and looking forward to it. I am on the board with the Dorset Players, who we will be interviewing this evening. And I'm excited to talk about the history, some upcoming events, and some refurbs we'll be doing.
Wonderful. We're so happy that you're joining us. We look forward to many wonderful shows in the future. And take it away.
Great. Thank you. We'll be right back. Hi. Welcome back. We're here with Kevin OToole. He is an Esquire by day and a Dorset player of many years by evening. He's here to tell us a brief history about the Dorset Playhouse, the Dorset Players, and how the Dorset Theater Festival ties into us. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Vanessa. We just wrapped our third full production of our 85th season of bringing quality community theater to the North Shire with the production of The Crucible that you were in, Sarah Good. Now, 85 years ago, that makes it 1927, when Dr. and Mrs. Goodman organized the Dorset Players and the very first play that took place in the town hall, which was 39 East. Then, in 1930, Dr. and Mrs. Goodman May Goodman had donated some land in which the present playhouse now sits, and the playhouse was built. And they produced many quality productions over the years, and we have many pictures of those in the 30s, in particular, in our cafe area.
Those always grab me.
Right. A couple of years ago, King Company did Dulcie, and they thought we hadn't done a Kaufman before, and I noticed that we did it in 1930. Anyway, the community theater sort of limped along for a long time, at least 1 or 2 productions a year. They used to take out all the seats and have dances in there in the 50s and 60s, according to June Goopbeer, who I've talked to. Anyway, but in 1949, the Playhouse, for the first time, hosted a professional theater. Fred and Pat Carmichael, the late Fred and Pat Carmichael, started the Caravan Theater, and they put on up to 10 shows every summer for quality Actors Equity repertory. it tells you about the different times, and that every show started at 8:40 in the evening. So we don't have dinner at 8 anymore either. Fast forward to 1976, Fred and Pat decided to step aside, and John Nassavera and the late Jill Charles had formed the Harlequin Theater, which became the Dorset Theater Festival, and they began a long relationship with the players, renting this theater every summer, while we would take over and do community productions during the fall and winter and spring months. Fast forward once again to 1999, and the old theater, for people who don't remember it, had 215 seats. They were just jam-packed together like sardines with a side aisle. We had 2 bathrooms that had a total of 2 bathroom stalls for the public.
And where were these seats located?
All where the present cafe is now. And so we had 2 bathroom stalls. The rake of the seats, the incline of the seats, was 1.5 feet. So if I sat in front of you, or Jeff Lineback, or Bill Lopperly, for goodness sakes, sat in front of you, you might as well go home. Also, there was no cushion on the back of the seat, so you're very uncomfortable.
Maybe that was to keep people awake at 8:40
The stage had 25 feet and a huge beam at the 7-foot height. So we couldn't do a lot of things. The late Jill Charles dreamed for the Dorset Theater Festival of doing Noises Off, which needs 2 stories. We dreamed of doing My Fair Lady, which also needs 2 stories. So anyway, it became quickly clear that they couldn't do just a renovation because of certain legalities. We could take out the existing 215 seats and replace them with 125.
Oh.
That wasn't going to work.
No.
So we made a deal. Essentially, the Dorset Theater Festival would be allowed to tear down almost all of our existing theater, except for the front part, which we kept, and as a cafe area, build a new theater. They would pay for it, and we would end up owning it as the Dorset Players. In return, they would get a 30-year lease with a 10-year option. And they got all the good things right. So now the men's and ladies' rooms each have 6 bathroom stalls apiece. Nice. The rake of the seats is now 5.5 feet, so you can see the play. It used to be that the lighting booth could only see half of the stage and the sound person couldn't see it at all. Now they have an unobstructed view. And there's cushions in the back of every seat, and they retain those wide seats people like. So now you can see the play in comfort. You can go to the bathroom when you want, and you'll actually have an unobstructed view. Furthermore, we do now have plenty of height. And in the first season of the theater, June 2001, the Dorset Theater Festival produced Art as their first show. Our first show was in the fall of 2001, and it was Lend Me a Tenor with Charlie Schubert, Eric Barnum, Jim Raymond, Nancy Bambera, and Mary Hart, and I'm probably forgetting somebody. But the new theater, I think, is still very intimate. It has 296 seats, and I don't think we've sacrificed anything in terms of quality. But there are different things you have to, in terms of height and other things like that you have to be aware of. It does bring into focus the relationship. The good news is the Dorset Players own the Playhouse. The bad news is we own the Playhouse. It's now been almost 13 years, and we have to start paying attention to things like roofs and replacing things. And that's where Cece King's going to talk to you about some of our fundraising.
Sure. Now, did the Dorset Theater Festival or the Dorset Players, did they get to actually do the performances that they were dreaming of when they built the new theater?
The late Jill Charles died before seeing Noises Off, but she knew that we were going to do it that first year. And in 2004, Susie Dorgalo directed My Fair Lady. I was a drunken sot in that particular production, as I recall. Lynn Worth was a maid. She's now in it. But it was a wonderful production, and you did get to use the unobstructed height. And so you get to fill around. Sometimes you want all the space. Sometimes it will close off the space, make it more like a diorama. The proscenium stage is now 28 feet across instead of 25, and you don't have a beam at the 7-foot level.
Can you tell people what a proscenium stage is?
Well, some stages are a thrust stage. It goes out into the audience like a peninsula. Others are a circular stage. It's a theater in the round. A proscenium is essentially like a shoebox, a diorama that you're looking into. And there's a theater term called the fourth wall. You have one wall, two walls, three walls in back, and the audience is the unseen fourth wall. And sometimes in a play, people will address the audience directly, and that's called breaking the fourth wall. There's an old theater term of going upstage and downstage. In the old days, the seats weren't raked. It was the theater itself when they traveled. So if you walked to the back of the stage, you were actually going upstage. And when you went to the front of the stage, you were going downstage. That's a term from the Renaissance that's lived. When we had no theater, we didn't give up any shows. Instead of doing our normal fall production, a children's production generally in December, the Missoula Theater Company we invite in January. Then we do a fall production. This was a Crucible. Then we generally do a one-act play festival. This will be our 10th this year on April 5th, 6th, and 7th. And then we do a musical. This year will be Jeff Lineback's directing Anyone Can Whistle. Now, in our year of exile, I noticed this poster here. We had to do things at the Arts Center, and we had to do them without sets. So we did Our Town, which doesn't need much of a set. And then in the spring, we did You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And I've often thought of Good Man, Charlie Brown because it has a song in it called Happiness, and it goes, happiness is singing together when day is through, and happiness is singing together when day is through, and happiness are those who sing with you. So hopefully that's what you get.
Kevin, thanks so much for singing with us on our show Theater Beat on GNAT, and we were happy to have you give a history of the Playhouse.
Well, thank you very much, Vanessa.
Thank you. Welcome back. In keeping with the Dorset Playhouse, we have Cece King, who is on the Dorset Players Board, and she is also here representing an improvement that we would like to do to the Playhouse with your help, which is called the Pathway to the Stars. Cece, can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Well, this project hopefully will improve the walkway that goes from the edge of Cheney Road right up to the box office apron door. And it's been in the planning stages for quite some time. It kind of was a germ of an idea about 5 years ago, and it got batted around for a while, and we finally decided we needed to grab a hold of it and make it work.
Can you tell us about what it is? I know it benefits both the Dorset Theater Festival and the Dorset Players.
Right.
Can you tell us why they are implementing this?
Why we're doing it? Well, it's important because as a nonprofit organization and a small community theater, we don't have a lot of money, and there aren't piles of money sitting around should the roof blow off in a hurricane or a bad storm, or the air conditioning system die in the summertime.
Speaking of owning the Playhouse being maybe
that's right, and we own the Playhouse, so we're responsible. However, there's never been a capital reserve fund, which should have been, just should have been done, and just wasn't enough capability and enough, people just said, oh, we won't have to worry about it because we're not going to have storms, we're not going to have disasters.
Not in Vermont.
No, not in Vermont. So the idea behind the entire thing is to create this pathway, and this particular stone is the smallest of the pathway stones that we are using to create the pathway itself. There's a double-size one to this and a double-size one to that.
Okay.
So they each have a price, and what the person does who wants to purchase one will decide what they want to say on it. It can be in memoriam of someone, it can be in tribute, it can just be a quote, which everyone knows, all the world's the stage, and they just send in their information to our office manager. Call that number at 867-5770. Talk with Sheila Conway, who's the business manager, and we hope that we could get this thing kicked off as of the 1st of May this year, because we really would like to have people see that it's actually taking place and what an improvement it will make.
Is there a cutoff to going into the first flux of stones?
Yeah, we're trying to keep that around the 22nd of April, which will be just after the gala celebration that we're going to have to both kick off the pathway and to celebrate the end of the 85th year, which Kevin referenced in his talk about the history of the Playhouse.
What is this gala event that you referenced?
Well, we decided to have a big party to celebrate the anniversary and the pathways itself, and make it kind of a festival, party. We haven't done anything like that in a long time, and we're calling it black tie optional. People can dress up if they'd like, and we'd love them to do that. If you'd like to come in costume, you can do that. Some of us may be brave enough to do that. Nessa has some costumes that she might want to try, but I'm not sure they could be filmed. And so we're going to have a cabaret, which we've done for a number of seasons. I think this is the 10th year, and have those wonderful voices that are part of our company singing songs, hopefully from a number of musicals that have been in the Playhouse over the last 6, 7 decades. I don't think we've got that many. 4 or 5 decades. And then we'll have catered hors d'oeuvres and wine and champagne, and we'll break the cabaret into 2 parts. And then after that, we will have coffee and dessert, and we'll also have a silent auction.
Wow.
Yep.
What's going on?
Yeah, so the winners for the silent auction will be announced at dessert and coffee at the end of the evening.
When does this take place?
This is April 20th, Saturday, April 20th. It's going to run from 6 to 9 at night. It probably will spill over a little bit, knowing the crowd that will attend. Really yes, we hope so too. And tickets are $40 per person because it is a fundraiser. Mm-hmm. It is to create this Capital Reserve Fund. So we really need this to be something, a fancy party you're going to go to, but it's got a very good purpose.
Great. How, after the first wave of stones come in, are you able to purchase more stones? When do those go?
Yes. The stones will be on sale as an ongoing project until I don't know when we could fill the entire walkway, but there are what are called spacers in between these memorial and tribute stones. And it will be ongoing with the business manager taking reservations, applications to buy one. And then in the fall, once Dorset Theater Festival is through with its time on the stage at the Playhouse, then the folks at Garden Arts in Manchester can come back and start to do some more before it gets too cold to work the pathway.
Can you still purchase the stones while the Dorset Theater Festival is in house?
Yes, that will be just kept in reserve, and the applications and reservation information will be kept so that the work can start in the fall again.
Excellent. Can you tell us anything more about the project? Anything else the Capital Improvement Fund may go to in the future? That can help people get more involved and to get
right. I think what everyone needs to understand is that what we try to do in a community theater is just involve as many people as possible in the community. I mean, that's what it's all about. So if somebody wants to get involved in helping us promote the pathways, that would be wonderful. If they want to get involved with the theater itself and the building, which of course needs maintenance and needs, love TLC all the time, that'll be great as well. So again, call the business manager at 867-5570 if you want to get involved. And that's being in a play, that's helping with the lights, that's working in the cafe, that's
items for the silent auction for the gala.
Yes, indeed.
Tickets for the gala, stones.
Right.
Donations. Really anything that benefits the theater and
right. And we're hoping that all of the food and the drinks will be. We're looking for donations, and someone's in charge of doing that with the local restaurants and inns and so forth. That they will participate that way for us.
Is there anything else we should call out for donations for this event besides the food and the?
Well, wine, champagne. We want this to be kind of fun. Let's crack some bubbly and have a good time. But certainly things for the silent option, and that could again be. Any items of, that someone values. And of course, there'll be minimum bids for some of the things that do have, a little bit more value than the average gift.
Great. Is there anything else you want to tell them about the Pathway to the Stars?
No, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this with you, Nessa, because it's hard to get the word out there. And we've done the best we can, and we'll have posters, and we're doing press releases, and, radio, we hope, as well. And so this is just another good way to promote it.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show, Cece. We really appreciate it and telling us about this new project we've got. Thank you.
Great.
Welcome back. For our final guest this evening, we have Jeff Linebeck. He is the Vice President of the Dorset Players Board, and he is also the director of our upcoming spring musical, Anyone Can Whistle. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Vanessa. Our spring musical for this year and the final production of our 85th anniversary season is Stephen Sondheim's Anyone Can Whistle, an early show of Sondheim.
How early?
Well, in fact, it was his the second show for which he wrote both music and lyrics. He was already a Broadway icon for writing the lyrics for Gypsy and West Side Story, but his plan was to write both music and lyrics for the Broadway stage. He had a moderate success with his first show in 1962, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which was written in a somewhat traditional style boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl in the end, that kind of thing. Anyone Can Whistle is the first show that really demonstrates what would become known as the Sondheim style. Innovative, fresh, imaginative, experimental.
Yes.
And it was a total failure. Even though it had a wonderful cast, Angela Lansbury in her very first stage musical role, Lee Remick, Harry Guardino, Gabriel Dell, who audiences would have known from the Bowery Boys and East End Boys movie series, and William Frawley, who would be better known as Fred Mertz from I Love Lucy. Great cast, but it struggled during tryouts, came to Broadway, ran 9 performances, and closed. My theory is that it was a show that was just way ahead of its time. It deals with some serious issues of government corruption, the recognition or the determination of who is sane and who is insane, issues of mental illness and gender and all of those kinds of things.
So that wouldn't be pertinent today at all, right?
Well, it's actually very pertinent today,
Yeah.
and much more so than it was in 1964. And it was just not the kind of fare that a Broadway-going audience really took to at that point, especially coming after the trauma of the Kennedy assassination just 6 months earlier.
Right.
But it's kind of become a cult musical, very popular in nowadays than it was then. As a matter of fact, there's a quote from Sondheim that says, if everybody who says they saw one of the original 9 performances actually did, the show would still be running. But it's a great show that I've wanted to do for a very long time. And we have an opportunity to do it. We're building it up in a little more contemporary venue, modernizing it a little bit. But it'll be an entertaining show, and I think the audience will find there are some real surprises.
Can you tell us how the show progresses? Anything more detailed about the show, or give them a little?
Very briefly, because it can go on for quite a long time. A town has gone bankrupt. It's totally bankrupt. It's run by a megalomaniac mayoress and her 3 cronies who are the most corrupt members of government you could ever hope to see. There is only one business in town which is thriving, and that is Dr. Detmold's Cookie Jar, which is the asylum for the socially pressured. And during a fake miracle that happens to try to bring some attention to the town, the townspeople and the residents of the Cookie Jar mix up, and you can't tell who is who. And a man comes to town who everyone assumes is the new doctor that's coming to the Cookie Jar, and they get him to try to straighten out who is what. And he puts them into 2 groups who start immediately competing with each other as far as who's the greatest group. And finally, the nurse of the Cookie Jar, a role that you might be familiar with, actually.
I just may know a little about it.
Vanessa is in every show this season. She is finally made to give up the identity of her cookies, and but she does manage to go on and live happily ever after. With many surprises in the meantime.
Oh, there are some twists. Well, when does the show open?
The show opens on May 16th, runs for 2 weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday evening, and Sunday matinees. So we'll catch the Memorial Day weekend as well, which will be our final show on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. And tickets are $25, $10 for students, and they're available by reservation right now,
Oh, good.
if you want to call the box office at 867-5570, talk to Sheila. She can take your reservation for the show. And it's going to be a great way to finish our anniversary season.
It sure is going to be fun.
I'm excited.
I can't wait to see how it all pulls together. Thank you so much for coming, Jeff. Is there anything else that you wanted to tag on?
My pleasure. I'm glad to have an opportunity to talk about it. And everybody, come see the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm telling you. But first things first, I had no idea that was you that was lying in that straw bed.
That
which
was me.
Absolutely hilarious.
All me, all my natural hair.
Yeah, and then you got up, and your hair was humongous.
I was like knocking
Very
people out from the side.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, that was mine.
Oh, but we're back. Vanessa, that was a great show. A great first time outing. And
We had a lot of fun.
You had fun?
I did.
That's great. That's great. Is there anything that we would like to tell our young audience out there?
Oh, absolutely. We are in need of people to come in and do monologues for us. High schoolers, non-high schoolers, theaters from across the boards. Anybody can come. If you're interested in doing a monologue, let us know. If you're interested in being on our show, let us know. We will be happy to oblige any theater in the area. Film crews, anybody, costumers, lighting, sound. Let's take it all. Let's have fun with this.
And remember, the name of the show is
Theater Beat.
See you next time.
Bye.
A play there is, my lord, some 10 words long, which is as brief as I have known a play. But by 10 words, my lord, it is too long, which makes it tedious. For in all the play there's not one word apt, one player fitted. And tragical, my noble lord, it is, for Pyramus therein doth kill himself, which when I saw rehearsed, I must confess, made mine eyes water, but more merry tears, the passion of loud laughter never shed.
What are they that play in it?
Hard-handed men that work in Athens here, which never labored in their minds till now, and now have toiled their unbreathed memories with this same play against your nuptial.
And we will hear it.
Oh, no, no, my noble lord, it is not for you. It is nothing, nothing in the world. Unless you can find sport in their intent, extremely stretched and conned with cruel pain, to do you service.